We're stronger this way.
Welcome to Team Avatar.
Avatar Aang, The Last Airbender. After over 20 years of being not just one of the most celebrated animated series in history, but also one of, if not the greatest show from Nickelodeon, Avatar The Last Airbender finally got its own official feature. Yes, I know that there was the 2010 movie by M. Night Shyamalan. However,
It's time we show the Fire Nation that we believe in our beliefs as much as they believe in theirs.
that film is more broken down than a cabbage cart in the middle of a fight. But what I meant to say was that we now got a real Avatar The Last Airbender movie. One that promises more of the spirit of the series than Shyamalan's mess by being animated, having the original creators be closer to the project by being part of the writing team, and presenting a new story that is set long after the events of the 3 books. For many fans, this is their dream moment to see what made the show so special in the form of an animated feature made for the big screen. So why the fridge was releasing it so complicated?
Oh no.
Yes, I know that the movie was made during a very awkward period in Paramount's history, but trying to give this movie a proper release ended up feeling like pulling teeth. It was originally set to be released in theaters on October of 2025, but it then had to be delayed not once, but twice on October of 2026. Which, okay, it happens during these productions, no big deal. But then the real problems happened when Paramount's new bosses decided that Aang was not worth putting up on the big screen, leading the film to get a disappointing downgrade to becoming a Paramount Plus exclusive. Then the whole movie got leaked online, where several fans downloaded as a way to stick it to Paramount, but then their little quote-unquote activism ended up doing nothing to the company and only hurt the animators who worked on the feature, and then a few months later, Paramount just said screw it and put up the first trailer in July to say that the movie will finally be out on streaming just a few weeks after. So overall, we all went on this wild ride of figuring out when we will get this Avatar Aang movie, just to end up with artists disappointed of how their work got unceremoniously displayed, fans upset that this didn't get a theatrical release, and Paramount looking stupid for not just letting the Ellisons be in charge, but also showing how they just don't care with how they let this leak happen in the first place. Congratulations! Everybody is a loser! We can all celebrate by watching this and that Among Us series that the company dumped down on streaming without telling anyone.
Unpaid internships favor the wealthy while being a capitalist exploitation of inexperienced workers under the guise of helping them achieve their personal and financial dreams.
So now that Aang and the gang have officially returned, can the Avatar master this movie like it masters the elements? Or is this film more problematic than its path to getting released? Let's find out. The story. As we return to the 4 nations long after the 100-Year War and Team Avatar are now grown adults, their vision of a unified land became more of a reality thanks to the founding of Republic City. However, after an encounter with a group of extremists called the Denied, Aang made a discovery that he never thought was possible, which is the fact that he's not the only living airbender after encountering one who was frozen like he was named Taga. But what's more, he also learned about a powerful staff that belonged to the lost avatar Sonam, which has the ability to give anyone bending powers that the Denied are after. So with the help of Taga, who knew Sonam during his time, Team Avatar set off to stop the Denied as they go to get the staff first to bring the air nomads back to life and maintain the nation's newfound peace.
If we found it, I could bring airbending back to the world.
I'll give the movie that it has a lot of interesting ideas of what they want to do with an Avatar The Last Airbender movie to both expand upon what the series established and to make the feature itself feel exciting. There are new additions to the world building with the Lost Avatar and more of the Air Nomads' history. There's a new threat with the Denied and how they want revenge for being non-benders who were left behind during the 100-Year War. It goes deeper into how Aang feels about being the last Airbender. The familiar characters are now older and have built new lives for themselves since we last saw them, like making Republic City. There's even a bit of philosophical substance as it explores the contrast between Togga and Aang's perspective of the world, where Togga is still from how things were thousands of years ago, while Aang has a fresher take that's more inclusive and unifying in order to uphold peace and harmony.
That's why we built Republic City. To show the world that if we listen to each other, we can all live together in peace.
And yet, with all of these great concepts to work with, they unfortunately fall apart when the movie tries to put them all together in the story. The main reason is because the plot itself is not the feature's main priority. In a way, Avatar Aang has a summer blockbuster mentality where it prioritizes the action above all else. Don't get me wrong, those scenes are awesome, and they are able to get you hooked to keep watching the film. But they also leave little room for everything else, as those components have to keep pushing each other just to have their quick turn. As a result, it leaves the story to feel shallow, where it doesn't have time to flesh out its concepts and make any of them feel meaningful, while the structure has a bad flow where its direction doesn't hold much weight and fails to make any of its elements feel like they matter. I think this would have worked a lot better if this were a mini-series so that it could have more time to develop its ideas and display their significance. But when it's all crammed in a movie that's around 90 minutes without counting the credits, and the action takes the most importance, the film is left with a poorly built plot that half-asses its concepts and lets tedious cliches to move it forward.
This is going nowhere.
Well,
Well, thank you for your time. I must continue my search.
Also, while this won't be an issue for some, this is the kind of picture that caters more to the fans than newcomers. Sure, it does try a bit at the start to summarize what the show was all about and who are the people in Team Avatar, but beyond that, it does rely on the audience to have an already established understanding of both the world and the characters to get what's going on and for it to make sense. However, with the way that the script was structured and still leave out some of the show's context, like with the Lion Turtles, the relevance of Republic City, and the returning personalities outside of Aang, the movie would not leave much of an impact to those who haven't watched the series prior. Not to mention that it does occasionally do some throwbacks to some fan-favorite moments of the show. Of course, that's to be expected in a feature like this, but again, if you're a newcomer, they won't do much for you.
my cabbages! My cabbages!
I won't go as far and say that the movie is terrible, but the story does make this a bit of a disappointment. Sure, it has some great ideas, but this made it into a matter of quantity over quality where the direction fails to present them in a way that can make the plot itself feel engaging, leaving them to feel wasted without having the proper time needed to display their true potential. I'm a bit let down to do this, but I'm giving the story a 4 out of 10. These would have been great materials to build an Avatar: The Last Airbender movie, but it didn't have enough time to make them good. The animation. The original series set a high standard for the franchise's animation quality. In fact, part of the show's appeal is the admirable craftsmanship of the visuals. It would be tough to find a way to improve upon that, but somehow, the movie found a way to make The Last Airbender's animation to feel bigger and better. As a collaboration between Flying Bark Productions, who previously did the animation for the Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, and Studio Mir, who did most of the visuals for The Legend of Korra, they stayed true to the franchise's style by maintaining the mock anime approach, where the influence is clearly from Japanese animation, like the more detailed designs of the characters. There are even times when it can feel a little more playful with the reactions to sprinkle the film with some comedy. It doesn't do it a lot, and it's not bombastic with its use, but they add some charm to the dynamic of the characters whenever they talk to each other.
Why would Avatar Aang partner with a non-bender?
Why? I'll tell you why. I saved him from the iceberg.
Also, the character animation got an upgrade where the flow of their movements is a lot smoother, which in return makes the subtler performances feel stronger and make the craftsmanship more awe-inspiring. Seriously, it does emphasize how it's been quite a while since we've seen hand-drawn animation like this. That, and a great benefit with its style is that, even if it is 2D animated, its cinematography presents the characters in a more 3D manner as the camera can follow them around in all different angles with no problem, along with emphasizing the action to get the best shots showing Aang as he goes through dangerous terrain and fight off the Denied, highlighting both the scale of the situations and the abilities and weapons that are being unleashed in battle.
Please stop! I don't want to hurt you.
But just like a new airbender found in the Avatar world, a part of why the cinematography works so well is because of an older animation technique that makes a surprise comeback here called deep canvas. Originally developed at Disney for films like Tarzan and Treasure Planet, it was used to create 3D backgrounds that look like they were handmade so that the environment can easily blend with the 2D characters. And in the case of Avatar Aang, the blend feels virtually seamless as they help make the movements of the camera flow smoother and present how big these fights can get. It's a great addition to the picture because the style of the franchise was already made to make the most out of something like deep canvas, where the animation is 2D with a 3D mindset, and the CG environments give it a boost to capture that feel. But since I've mentioned the action a few times, it's safe to say that they are the best parts of the picture. The one benefit to that element being the top priority is that it knows how to make them engaging when they appear, as they can get very creative with the type of situations the characters get into as they seek the staff. The effects when they bend the elements add some fantastical intensity to show off their powers. The choreography of the battles are great to keep up a fast pace. The danger is always at a high when everybody is put in real deadly situations. And when you add that solid score by Jeremy Zuckerman into the mix, who did a fantastic job to elevate the mood of the moments, they all make the action be the main reason why this movie is worth experiencing. And this is not even mentioning how the film still carries the Last Airbender's tradition of further combining several Asian cultures to form its own fictional world. Fans will definitely feel right at home with the new places and characters they introduce here because they stay true to the franchise's theme.
But here, on this ancient site, we created a place where all people are welcome, bender and non-bender alike.
Even if the script was a letdown, the animation absolutely delivers on what people wish for in an Avatar: The Last Airbender movie. I'd even dare say that it's some of the best 2D animation from an American animated feature we had in a long time. It's not just beautifully crafted on its own, but it took the already admirable look of the series and elevated it to create something that looks spectacular from start to finish. And since this is already a strong contender in this category for Best of the Year, I'm giving the animation a 10 out of 10. Maybe some will debate if this is the Avatar movie we were expecting, but visually, it easily exceeds that. The characters. Before I go and talk about both the benders and the non-benders of the film, I have to address how the movie decided to completely change the voices from the originals of the series so that the cast can better reflect the racial representation of the characters. Even getting an actual blind Asian voice actress, Dion Kwan, playing as Toph.
I'm still the greatest earthbender in the world! And I'm bored.
Even when looking outside of the representation aspect, it's always a controversial move whenever fan-favorite characters suddenly get a new voice, regardless of extra context like how those in Team Avatar are now older. At this point, fans will probably debate if the new voices sound like the originals, or if they capture what these characters would sound like as adults. But for me, I'd say that maybe they don't sound identical to how they were in the series, but the voice acting on its own is one of the feature's strongest assets. At the very least, they capture the spirit of these fan-favorite characters by nailing what makes their personalities charming. It's kind of similar to Matt Vogel as Kermit the Frog. They may not sound identical to what you grew up with, but the actors did a great job to bring back what is it that made them highly beloved.
Oh, someone else confirm.
This is serious.
What does attractive even mean?
Just give me a straight confirmation. Is he attractive?
He's very attractive.
Huh?
I'd also like to add that the new celebrity voices also did very well on their part, like Ke Huy Quan as Avatar Xi'an.
Are Sando's still a thing?
Yes?
Oh, why? Why after so many years?
Taika Waititi's also good, but man was his scene honestly weird.
Well, when you put it like that, it does make more sense.
And the film's standout actor for me is Dave Bautista as Taga, who did very well as the ancient air nomad thawed out after thousands of years and trying to understand how the world works now through his connection with Aang.
Let me show you how powerful our element can be when airbenders work together.
The voice acting really elevated the characters, both old and new, to make the viewers feel like that they are back in the Avatar world. Unfortunately, they didn't have much to work with where their performances can only get them so far. When looking at the characters themselves, you first got the Avatar himself, Aang, whom despite his responsibility as the Avatar, he has a concern to how he is also the Last Airbender, partially because of his past cowardice. This is why, upon the discovery of Taga and Avatar Sodam's staff, it gives him new hope that the air nomads can live again and that the damage from the 100-Year War can be fully repaired. For him, this is his second chance to right his own wrong to actually save his own people.
This could be it. I'm the last airbender.
As for his friends in Team Avatar, there's honestly not much to them here. Even if their charm do appear to brighten up some scenes, their roles are minor at best, where they're just the sidekicks with their own individual trait, like Katara as the girlfriend and the group's healer, Sokka as the comic relief, Toph is the sassy one, and Zuko is the serious guy with the equipment needed for the journey.
What if his instincts are just wrong?
Who needs instincts when you've got muscles like that?
Or what if his brain is messed up from being frozen?
Then you have the Denied, whom in theory are very interesting because of how they are non-benders with a grudge against those with bending powers. But in practice, I'll say that the Denied is a great name for them because they also got denied from being a big deal in the movie.
And how many countless were killed in the 100 years waiting for his return? Where was he when your family was wiped out?
With how the feature can barely handle anything outside of the action, there are times when they feel like they're completely forgotten and their roles as the antagonist are nearly irrelevant. The only times when they do show up is when the movie needed some action, and that's only half of the time when they are included. Hard to feel threatened by these guys when they're hardly in the film in the first place.
There's no way in! We have to turn back! No! We keep trying to push through!
And then you have Taga, the second air nomad alive after Aang, who was awakened after thousands of years dormant. He's like the Avatar's new mentor to learn about the older ways that the nomad lived and use their airbending, as well as understanding how things have changed since his time now that the nations are more unified. However, without going into spoilers, as the movie progresses, Taga shows more of who he is and his relationship with Avatar Sonam to ultimately reveal that he's one of those characters. And as he becomes more of that and updates his role, Taga becomes less interesting and more of an exasperating trope. It honestly sucks because with his background and Bautista's great acting, He's like an exciting build-up that just leads to disappointment.
I know my ways may seem unusual to you, but I assure you, everything I do for Aang.
I'm not gonna say that these are bad characters. I can imagine in a better suited format like a miniseries or a trilogy where they would have a better chance to show off their personalities and their roles. But the problem is that the story is so poorly structured that they weren't able to present their potential, rather by getting sidelined or failing to grow their characters to be more than a trope. At least they have some great voice acting behind them, because without that, the cast would have felt like a serious downgrade. I won't go too low with my score here, but I'll give the characters a 6 out of 10. It's a great cast that are the same like you remember them from before, but they weren't able to be great in this movie. After all the years of waiting for Aang's return and all the delays, leaks, and going from theaters to streaming, were all that time and controversies worth it to finally experience this movie? Well, it's not worth the hype, but it is worth watching. Avatar Aang, The Last Airbender brings back the iconic Nickelodeon series for an action-packed animated feature that is not among Aang's greatest moments. There are some elements that it was able to master. I'd even say that they may be some of the year's best, with a spectacular animation, epic action, and fantastic voice acting. However, what holds it back from being on par with the original series is that the writing is so poorly structured, due to the action having a bigger importance, that it results in the story to feel like a messy letdown and the characters coming out flat or unoriginal. I don't think that this is a bad movie whatsoever. It's a mixed bag with a bit more good components to it, but I also feel like I got more out of some episodes of the show than I did with this whole feature. Maybe non-fans wouldn't get much out of this outside of seeing some cool action, but if you're a fan of the series, I think it's worth checking out, and I'd even say that maybe you'll enjoy it more than I did. However, I do recommend to lower your expectations a bit, because you'll be disappointed if you're coming in thinking that you'll experience the best animated feature of the year. And if you were not disappointed by this review, then give it a like and come subscribe to my channel. You can also support me on Patreon, where you can master some special elements that very few can, like seeing my videos before anyone else. Yes, I know that some people who may want to see this are still mad at Paramount and refuse to get Paramount Plus because of all the trouble this movie went through, not to mention also trying to acquire Warner Brothers. But I just want to say to those people, and this is absolutely unrelated, you know what I consider to be a fun Disneyland song?
Yo ho, a pirate's life for me.
To be fair, the movie is already released, so doing so now won't hurt the artists and animators as much as if you would during the leaks.
I knew this would be difficult. But Aang believed in your strength as a team, and I'm honored to be a part of it.